this kind of attracting power that you have, you can draw a man to you, but you can't keep him. You make him feel good for the moment, but you can't cook. In the old days, they used to say, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Not today. I ain't gonna tell you what's the way to his heart. You already know, you're showing him the way. But in the old days, every girl, no matter whether she's going to be a professional or not, she had to learn how to make a home. Because your happiness is not in the office, your happiness is at home.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you already know what I'm about. So let's get into it. Now, I know for some Christians, looking at Minister Farrakhan, might be something that, kind of throws them, because I do know that having a Christian channel, sometimes people don't necessarily like, mixing certain things. But, a lot of the stuff that, I pull, it's like I told you before, it's things that I find in my feed, things that are sent to me, in bits and bytes. And I think that there's information in all of it, that we can learn from. And that's kind of why I lean into it. So I'm just saying that to get us started, so people won't be going back and forth over that. Now, with that being said, I don't necessarily think a woman has to go through cooking, i.e., in order to get to a man's heart. But I think what the core element here is that it's not just about this concept of a traditional woman. It's also, really talking more about the fact that women kind of understood men more so in the past than what they do now. See, a lot of women, I think a lot of what's been going on, like I said, so many different levels to this. I think this is just a very small level of it, to be honest with you. And I've talked about it so many different ways because in reality, the same thing goes for men. And I think I've told you all that, over and over again as you've watched this channel, is that most of the things beyond the non-negotiables really kind of are on both sides, okay? Because you have men that are not walking in their full purpose. They're not moving down the train tracks, so to speak. And because of that, they have no vision. And I've always encouraged women to attach themselves to a man's vision. Don't attach to his money. His money can come and go, but his vision, if it's been sent by God, he's thought about it, he's worked on it, he's curated it, that's going to more than likely be there with him for a lifetime. And if it does change, it's probably only going to change once or twice. And if he's man enough, it's going to change in a positive way. Well, to get back to this concept of women, for the women that are watching, the concept is simple. What women understood in the past was that you find out what a man needs. And see, a man doesn't need your money. What he needs more than anything is he needs life to be poured into him. Because, see, a masculine man, and this is one of the differences between masculine men and feminine men. Feminine men work and move a lot like women. They like to be pretty on the outside, very attractive on the outside. They're trying to draw you via attraction. Where masculine men are going to move in action, right? So a masculine man might not necessarily be as attractive as a feminine man. And this is one of the problems, in our modern society here in America, and especially, unfortunately within the African American community. It's kind of like when I run into, a lot of women that did not know that the man that they were dating was homosexual, and they still kind of get confused by that, even to this day, because they're leaning into the how attractive the man is, and how well he does on the outside instead of the action that he moves in, as he goes throughout his life. And, there's always, again, that concept of the down low brother, which is generally the masculine man who wants to, partake in that lifestyle. And again, I could go into that, but that's really not the purpose of this particular video. If you're interested in that, you can either hit me up in the comments or you can hit me up on Instagram. Now, to get back to this, again, the concept here is simple. What does the woman provide for the man? See, if a man is moving in his masculine, then he's moving in action. He is trying to move in business. He's trying to move in, like I say, what God ordained him to. It's like even with this particular channel for me, right, to use it as an example, I put out a video almost every day. And because of that, I have days where I stack videos and stuff like that in order to, make sure I am trying to keep up. And as of November, about, I think maybe November 10th or so, it will be about a year that I've put out at least 5 videos every single week. And that's a lot of work, right? But that's the vision that God gave me. And so I'm moving down that vision. And because of that, back to Minister Farrakhan's point, I don't eat as well, right? And so when a woman comes into my life and she says, oh, let me cook for you, even if she's not necessarily the prettiest woman, even if she's not necessarily the nicest woman, even if she's not necessarily the most supportive woman, it's hard for me to deny the lifeline of food. It's hard for me to give up good, nutritious food that I am eating, that is sustaining me, that is pushing me forward and allowing me to do the vision that God gave me. And when you're dealing with masculine men, okay, the masculine man in turn will take care of your physical needs. And see, what's happened is, like I say, in the Black community is, again, we got to go all the way back, to evidently slavery, right? And in that time, that is when, the Black woman was put over the Black man. And the matriarchy was formed. And most of us know this. Most of us understand this. Now, once we got out of slavery, okay, there was a time when a lot of Black people were trying to fix it. They were trying to make it a patriarchy again. Because a lot of the Black people at that time understood that in order for us to move forward, we have to kind of fix some of these problems. And I know many of you, not all of you, but many of you will have even know that people in your family may have covered up sins of certain people, and when I say sins here, I'm not necessarily talking about people literally in your family, but just covered up things that might have disturbed the psyche of the children. So to give you an example, I have a friend, okay, and his great-grandfather, okay, basically he found out that his great-grandfather, who he thought was this really great man, he found out that he had abused his great-grandmother. And at that particular time, he had got really upset about it, really frustrated about it, and me and him had a long conversation about it. And he was really mad because people had covered it up. Everybody had covered it up. But I told him, I said, you have to realize where your great-grandfather came from. He came from an environment where literally, white men may have beat him. So he really did not understand how to relate to his wife. But the Black people at that time knew that we cannot allow this to go to the next generation. We have to keep quiet about it. And so a lot of Black people, they just would not talk about it. The same thing happened in my own family. When you had things like babies' mamas, okay, and you to go back 3 and 4 generations, no one talked about it. When the woman got married to whatever was her final husband, he accepted those children and he just raised them as his own, even if the woman might have had, children by other men. And many times those children by other men, it wasn't just the woman being loose. Sometimes it was her being loose, but sometimes, let's be honest, she might have been raped or molested or put in a situation on a job where she felt like she had to do that in order to keep her job. And so you would have a lot of mulatto babies popping up, and the man knew, okay, this wasn't my child, but he also understood that he was in an environment where there's not really much else he could do, right? Okay, now you fast forward to the world we live now, okay, and things are different. But unfortunately, over the last 2 generations, we're going into this phase where, again, Black people are trying to figure out how this thing works. And because a lot of Black women feel that they were abandoned by Black men, they're now in this movement where they're just kind of like, well, I have to do it on my own. I have to do it on my own. And again, that's, like I've said before, that's actually a trick of the devil. Because while I understand that, Black women might need to think about that to some degree in order to survive, there's also a point where if a good Black man comes into your life, or really a good man, period, comes into your life, because, like I say, ultimately you can marry whoever you want. As these people come into your life, you have to be really thinking about, okay, should I lean into this man that is proven, okay, that he will do for me, that he will care for me? And even when I'm dating, do I date men that are my comfort, or do I date men that will actually protect, provide, and lead? Right? And recently I was doing a video with Naka O'Nillafor. I'm looking down at my notes. O'Nillafor. And you guys might see that video in a couple of days or weeks. But as me and her were talking, we even brought this, this concept up, because the whole thing is, I think a lot of Black women feel like they are that cat that has been, pressed up against a brick wall. So it has to come out scratching and clawing and doing everything it can in order to survive. And I think that that is where a lot of Black women have to say, do I truly want this life? And do I want this life for my children? And so that's really where the issue is. But I'm always going to tell Black women and Black men, go to where you're appreciated, right? You got to go, to where you're appreciated. But to get back to, what Minister Farrakhan is saying, again, this concept is finding the need of what the Black man wants, okay, and or in this particular case, needs. Because that is a way of access to the man. And because a lot of women have decided that they don't want to do these things anymore, it basically cuts them off from certain type of men. Now, again, I don't necessarily think everything he's saying is 100%, because like I said, you don't necessarily have to be this cooking, cleaning, totally traditional type of woman. But what I have learned is, and this is the key element, is that there's always going to be balance. Almost every relationship is balanced. I was even thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, man, of all the relationships that seem to work best for me, and even the women that are the most attracted to me, they tend to go through a certain pattern. These women tend to have certain things that kind of exist within their spirit, and those are the women that are attracted to me. And many times, like for instance, I'm very attracted to artistic women, like women who love art, who have very fashionable design type energy, to them. But those women I generally don't attract as much, right? And even though I'm very attracted to them, they don't seem always to be as attracted to me. And I think it's because even though I have a lot of art in me, like I say, those that have watched my channel for a while, they know my background is actually film and media. So I am very much an artist. Okay, I draw, I do animation, I do the whole 9 yards, right? So that's very much who I am. So those women, I'm very attracted to them. But it takes a certain amount of energy from me just to get into that place. I'm generally not drawing and painting and doing those other types of things unless I'm actually happy or unless I'm in a calm space. Or like even right now, I've been trying to do some more work like that, but I get so busy that I'm not able to do it. And when I find that when I'm extremely busy, I don't lean into my art. So therefore, it's hard for me to attract those women, if this makes sense, right? But what people are generally doing is they're trying to find balance. Everybody's trying to find balance. So women that are out here and they're, like I said, going up the mountaintop, they're looking for a man of peace. They're looking for a man that, unfortunately, for many of them, becomes the wayfaring man, because he's the guy that comes in and says, hey, I'll rub your feet, I'll rub your back, I'll make love to you, I'll relax you, but I am not going to be there for you. And that becomes the issue. But then the man that's going up the mountaintop, again, he's looking for the same thing. And you see that all around the internet, where men are saying, I'm looking for a woman that brings me peace. You see how this works? See, really, when it comes down to it, the people that are attracted to you, okay, in an everyday general, sense, are going to be the very people that you kind of need in a way. And again, if you're not finding the person that you're looking for, we have to think about, okay, what are we really doing? What is the aura that we're giving off? And then at the end of it, even though, like for me, I might like some of these more artistic women and different things like that, maybe that woman's not necessarily for me. Okay? Maybe that energy is not necessarily going to balance me. And again, I think that that's one of the things that, we all have to look at. Because like I say, I've talked about that before. There's a lot of women that are looking for a certain type of man. There's a lot of men that are looking for a certain type of woman. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're attracted to that type of person if that person is not going to give you the balance that you need. Right? And so we have to be honest about it. And for the women that say, well, I really don't want a man to bring me peace. I want that man, that lines up with, the non-negotiables, Jay, that you're always talking about. Then you have to say, are you walking in that energy, okay, of the woman who needs those things? And it's the same thing for the men. If the men are saying, well, I want that woman that's a lot more traditional in the sense, again, are you walking in that energy of the non-negotiables that will allow you to find that woman easy? Because like I say, I know me and my average walking around, there's a certain type of woman that tends to, want to date me, want to talk to me and stuff like that. And a lot of that woman, I'll just be honest with you, she kind of lines up with a good portion of the non-negotiables, because I do tend to walk a little bit more in the whole protector, provider, leader mindset, if this makes sense. But again, there's so many different factors that people need. But I do believe, and this is one of the main reasons why I'll be honest with you, I'm not as much of a fan of the kingdom marriage thing, is because I truly believe that God sends us so many people in our everyday life, if we just get out, that he's saying, okay, I sent you this person on this day. I sent you this person on this day. I sent you this person on this day. And that's why I'm always encouraging women to, hey, look around. If you see a guy, smile at him, or if he's trying to talk to you, talk to him for 15 minutes, in order to get yourself in a situation where you can actually meet someone. And don't just always be quick to judge based off what you think you see. Because like I said, I just did a video on the black wife effect. Okay. So don't believe that you can't clean them up a little bit. Right. But anyway, I think this is really more, again, about what people need. And it's not so much, like I said, about food and a woman cooking and all this other kind of stuff. It's about those women in that time understood that in order to get a man, they had to provide for that man's needs. Right? And I think today we don't come into relationship that way. We come into relationship just kind of saying, well, I just want to hang out with this person. I want to love them. I want somebody, the need is love. Right? And I think, while that sounds like that should be the end all be all, I think for a lot of people, they still have gaps in their life that they're trying to fill, right? And the perfect match is this, not like this, you know, because this person might get in the door, but it's this person that's really going to stay. So we have all these gaps that we're trying to fill. And I think it's just really important. Like I said, I'm not saying that women have to cook. Don't, like I said, be beating me up in the comments because you think that's what I'm talking about. No, I'm talking about every single man has certain needs. Some men cook and some women don't. But we always have to look at every single thing. And then, like I said, we also have to figure out what we're willing to do. Because if you want, I mean, let's be real. The internet is set such that if you want to learn how to cook, you can learn how to cook within 6 months. I mean, there's so many people teaching you how to do recipes. There's recipes everywhere. And if you cannot follow directions and just do what the directions say, then it's something really wrong there, you know, in your own mind. It's just like, you know, some people even know, like I talk sometimes about makeup and different things like that. There's so many tutorials out here about that. I've talked to the men about their clothing. There's so many things out here for that. And even when you're out and about, you know, I'll be honest, you know, I kind of hate to say it like this, but as a man, if you see another man and you like his style, you can even ask him like, dude, where did you get that shirt? You know, or whatever. So it's a lot of different things that we all can do, but we have to say, okay, are we willing to do that work? Anyway, remember every other Wednesday, generally first and last Wednesday of the month, we do a Zoom live. So be looking for those. And again, please like and subscribe. And I'm going to see you all in the very next video.